But first, I want to touch on this news Friday from Sandra Dorley, District Attorney in Monroe County. You'll recall that there was several months ago a press conference. You had Lewis Stewart, had a couple other folks. You had this one gentleman who claimed to have been misused by the police, claimed to have been beaten. Started out, he was on his bicycle. Rochester police was looking for somebody. They thought it was this guy, mistaken identity, like I said. But in the exchange, things sort of went from not so good to a whole lot worse, and the guy ended up he ended up with facial injuries, and I think the orbit of his eye was broken and stuff like that. There was resistance and a scuffle and all this other stuff. Well, Lewis Stewart said the two cops had beat hell out of him, and the two cops are on suspension at the department pending outcome of the investigation. I'll be honest with you, few things are slower than the Rochester Police Department investigating its own. And I whether that has to do with the union or what that is, I don't know. But I think that they ought to get faster at it and better at it, from whichever side you're on. Me, I'm on the side of the odds are most times the cops didn't do anything wrong, so let's ascertain that and say so out loud so we can defend their reputation. If you're on the other side of it and you think, you know what, I think the cops are wrong and somebody got misused, then you likewise have an even greater obligation to let's get an answer so we can know that. Laying aside my bias or yours, how about just in the interest of justice and finding out what the truth is, you need to get after it. And I'll be honest with you, regular people get investigated and conclusions are drawn a whole lot faster than the process for reviewing alleged misconduct in-house by the Rochester Police Department. They have the ability to investigate faster. They do it every day on regular crimes. For whatever reason it is, whether it's the tradition of the organization or maybe heel dragging by the union or whatever else. And I don't want anybody's rights goofed up. I know that people's jobs and stuff like that are on the line, but let's get after it. Because one factor that also has to be considered is the interest of the community. Okay, so that said, Friday, Dear Dorley comes out and says, you know what, we presented this to a grand jury, and what we come back with is one count of third-degree misdemeanor assault against one police officer, Michael Sipple. The other police officer, there was no grounds found for any charges to be brought against him. Well, Lewis Stewart about crapped his pants, right? And because he wanted felony charges against both officers. And so anyway, the upset continues. But here's what should be done. The body camera footage should be made public. If it needs to be explained, then you get a big screen and you have a chief or one of your deputy chiefs stand there and explain exactly what's transpiring. But, and again, I am so pro-police, right, that, I'm crazy pro-police. And I believe that just laying the cards on the table will more often than not show the police are doing a great job. But the one thing I like more than police is just doing what's right. And we have evidence here. We have some very strong allegations made by the injured man, Christopher Pate, and even stronger allegations made by the people who claim to be representing him, Lewis Stewart and others, right? We now have the matter that the DA and the grand jury feel that at least a misdemeanor was committed, or that they allege that these charges allege that this one officer committed a misdemeanor. Also, it would seem that the grand jury believes that the other officer broke no laws. So, okay, we're smart enough to understand that. This guy got charged, this guy didn't. I presume that's because that guy who got charged did something that the uncharged guy didn't. And that the grand jury thought there was a fair chance that what the guy who got charged did was not compliant with the law. We all can wrap our mind around that. So the deal is bring forward the body camera tape. Right? Bring it forward. It will, of course, it is the misdemeanor, to the extent that there's a misdemeanor trial, right? But it will come forward eventually because there is an additional interest here. what you have is, the longer this goes on, you have more press appearances by Louis Stewart telling you how much your Rochester Police Department sucks, right? And how this isn't right. He just reasserts and reasserts and reasserts. And so if he's full of crap, that's no good, because he's preaching crap. If he's telling the truth, well, then that ought to be laid out. And here's the deal. If you are concerned about preserving relations between the police and the community, if that's the big thing that has you up in the night, I'm more concerned about crime prevention, keeping people alive, keeping them from being unshot. Yeah, I want people to be unshot, right? So that if you've done something wrong, even if this officer, Michael Sippo, even if he did do something wrong, even if he's guilty of this misdemeanor that the district attorney alleges, then lay it out there. Dancing away from the truth will not serve either side. It just foments hard feelings, right? It just, people dig in their heels. We have the answer. Show it to us. And I would politely say, this answer we have, you, taxpayer, pay the cops. You, taxpayer, bought the body cameras. You, taxpayer, are paying to manage the system. These are public records to which you, as a free American, have a right. So there is nothing to be gained here by keeping this video footage private. There's nothing to be gained but continued hard feelings. And so, good, bad, or ugly, just play it. And Bob, police tactics, it's sometimes people don't know. Yes, police work is ugly, because you deal with a lot of ugly people who insist on it. But again, we're not all idiots. And if something needs to be explained, then freeze frame with your pointer, point up here and say, here's what's happening now, and here's how we train them, and okay, now go forward. Now, if you need to do that, do that. But free people have the right to decide for themselves. And the people of the city of Rochester have a right to see the video.